Hey, this is Pastor Joe, and I want to share with you God's desire for GFF. We're moving into a new phase of our life as a church. By God's grace, we've had victory over many, many things. He's worked in many, many different ways, and now we're going to break through to the next thing. So over the next year, or many years, this is God's desire for God's family fellowship. For us to glorify God, for us to enjoy God, and for us to be transformed by God by a real spiritual growth that leads to life transformation. And that life transformation then leads us to disciple and to evangelize. This is going to be a challenge. These are not vague churchy platitudes. They are real and they are specific and they are God's desire for us. And I know this without any shadow of any doubt. How do I know it's God's desire for us? Did God come to me in a vision or a dream and tell me His desires for us? No. He came to me in Scripture the same way He comes to you. In 1 Corinthians 6:19, God says to us, to every believer, you are not your own, for you were bought with a price, so glorify God. And that comes first, glorifying God. And in Philippians 4:4, God says to us and to every believer, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice, twice. Rejoice. And so we commit to not being boring when we glorify God. We commit to being passionate. And we commit to not doing anything out of duty or self-regulation. But we commit to glorifying God in a vibrant and real joy. And in Romans 12:2, God said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. And so we realize that if we are not our own, and that we are called to rejoice in God, this will change us completely, and that we are to be transformed and continue to be spiritually transformed individually and corporately together as a church, and that there is a result of this spiritual transformation, a renewal. This result is that we glorify God more, that we enjoy God more, that we allow God to challenge us in our lives, to grow, as we seek continued spiritual growth and transformation. And this transformation leads us. Naturally, it just leads us to disciple one another to life change. It also leads us naturally to tell other people about this God who changed His lives because He has changed ours. We know that God tells us to go and make disciples and to teach them, and to go and preach this good news to everyone. It's in Matthew 28 and Mark 16. He tells every believer that. He tells us that. That is His desire for us. So, in order for us to know that we are on the right track, we should ask ourselves these questions before we start any project, before we start any service or ministry here at GFF. Does this glorify God? Can we do this joyfully? Is this something that brings joy? Does this lead to spiritual growth? Can we disciple through this? Can we evangelize through this? If we can say yes to those questions, then that is something that we should be doing, because that is God's desire for us. We'll begin rolling out this next year's plan to accomplish God's desire soon. And at the center of this plan is the gospel. And at the center of the gospel